Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottama.
Naram Chaiva Narottama.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tado Jayamudiraye.
Tadodayamudiraye.
Nasta Preshu Bhadreshu.
Nasta Preshu Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
See the translations? Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Alright. Unto Narayana, Rishi, the supremest being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. By regular attendance in classes from the Bhagavatam, and by rendering a service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of God, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Alright, so reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 26. We'll do first 8 verses of this chapter, and then we'll focus on the 8th verse. Kadamani is left, and Kapila Dev, he's speaking to his mother. And his mother, you know, it's rare when parents ask for instructions from a child, but even in Krishna's time, and even Lord Chaitanya's time, actually, that's unique about Kapila Dev, because when Krishna came and Lord Chaitanya came, you know, they enjoyed their rasa as a child. You know, they enjoyed the rasa of a loving parent and being a child, and you know, they would eat dirt. Krishna would eat dirt, and Lord Chaitanya ate dirt too, actually. He ate that, and then he had, both of them had different lessons based on that. Their mothers realized something, but they acted like a child, and there was no question of instructions. You know, it was the mothers, Mother Yashoda and Sati Devi, giving instructions and correcting and tying them up to a mortar and and all that stuff. I remember one time I told this pastime. There was this girl who was coming around. She was from Kentucky. She just transferred to UF, and she was coming around a lot. The month of Damodar came. She was coming around, and she asked me, "What is this whole? What's this thing about?" I told her the story. Now Mother should have tied him up, and 2 fingers too short, the ropes and everything. And she said, "Tie a child up." She said, "That's something we would do in Kentucky and Vrindavan." That was funny. But yeah, so that was the mood they had with their mothers, Lord Chaitanya and Krishna. Even Lord Ram actually had some childhood pastimes. Not very familiar with those, but did grow up and he had some childhood pastimes. But with Kapila Dev, it's different. he came and he's just ready to go. He's the Supreme Personality Godhead, and he's going to give instructions. And his mother is also very, keen on hearing from him. So that's the mood this incarnation has, Kapildev. And so he's giving instructions. And this chapter is fundamental principles of material nature. And the way Kapildev gives instructions is it's a lot from the Shankya perspective. Sankhya yoga is where you look at it's where it's much more based on knowledge also, and so you look at the different ingredients of this material world and material nature and all these different things, and then and based on that, from Sankhya you analyze all those different things. Sankhya actually literally means numbers, to count. So you count all these different things, and then based on that you realize, okay, what is the truth? And so Sankhya yoga is, it's like when you dovetail that to Krishna, to Bhakti, where you connect with Krishna through that, not just some impersonal realization of what reality is. And so that's Kapildev. That's his way of sharing Krishna consciousness with her. But of course, there's a lot of Bhakti which we'll see in the verses today and also beyond. But yeah, there's a lot of an analytical way Kapildev explains everything to his mother. And so yeah, this one, fundamental principles of material nature, and I believe with this chapter he's going to talk about the modes also. All right, let's read the translations. The text one. Do you want to start, Prabhu?
Ocean of Godhead, Kapila continued, My dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of the absolute truth, knowing which my person can be released from the influence of modes of material nature.
Knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. I shall explain that knowledge unto you by which do not spread attachment to the material world or cup.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Soul, and he has no beginning. He is transcendental to the material modes of nature and beyond the existence of this material world. He is perceivable everywhere because he is self-effulgent, and by his self-effulgent luster, the entire creation is maintained.
As his pastime, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the greatest of the great, accepted the subtle material energy which is invested with three material modes of nature and which is related with Vishnu.
Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities, and the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge covering feature of the illusory energy.
Because of his forgetfulness, the transcendental living entity accepts the influence of material energy as his field of activities, and thus actuated, he wrongly applies the activities to himself.
Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by conditioned life.
The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself.
Devotee said,
Sorry,
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's it. Sorry. Tomorrow, Pooja, you can start tomorrow. First person. Anything that stands out in these verses, a couple of Dave is explaining how the living entity gets conditioned. And anything that stands out, let me go back to that. Yes, bro? Okay.
The fourth verse.
The fourth verse.
Accepts the subtle material energy.
As its pastime, the Supreme Personality God, the greatest of great, accepted the subtle material energy, which is invested with three material modes of nature, and which is related with Vishnu. He accepted the subtle material energy. Let's see what the Prabhupada say in the purport. So your question is, they accept it, or it stands out to you? What it means? Yeah, I'm just curious too. Let's see. Can you pull up the purport, bro? Let's read the purport for that one. Good catch. That is interesting. Yeah. In this verse, the word Gunamayin is very significant. Daivi means the energy of the Supreme Personality Godhead. And Gunamayim means invested with the three modes of material nature. When the material energy of the Supreme Personality Godhead appears, this Gunamayim energy acts as a manifestation of the energies of the three modes. It acts as a covering. The energy emanated from the Supreme Personality Godhead manifests in two ways: as an emanation from the Supreme Lord, as a covering of the Lord's face. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that because the whole world is illusioned by the three modes of material nature, the common conditioned soul, being covered by such energy, cannot see the Supreme Personality Godhead. The example of a cloud is very nicely given. All of a sudden, there may appear a big cloud in the sky. This cloud is perceived in two ways. To the sun, the cloud is a creation of its energy, but to the ordinary common man in the conditioned state, it is a covering to the eyes. Because of the cloud, the sun cannot be seen. It is not that the sun is actually covered by the cloud, only the vision of the ordinary being is covered. Similarly, although Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord, who is beyond Maya, the material energy covers the ordinary living entities. Those conditioned souls who are covered are individual living entities. And he from whose energy Maya is created is the Supreme Personality Godhead. So I guess that's what Prabhupada translates or this explains as accepts, when the Supreme Personality Godhead accepted the subtle material energy, in a sense that it's actually us, we are covered over by the material energy. But from our perspective, it looks like there is no God. There's nothing there, everything just kind of works on its own, and that's all. So that's what Prabhupada is explaining, what it means when it says the Supreme Person accepts the material energy, accepts the subtle material energy. Yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts on this, bro?
Maybe it's related to that, but
Mhm.
there was other verse that says by force that living entities forced to act. It's just interesting to to notice in our conditioned state, in our rebellious state, we don't like to be told, we don't like force, but at the same time, force is unavoidable. It's just a matter of to which force we are submitting.
Yeah.
I noticed there was a statement about how in this world we are forced by uncontrolled desires, and then in spiritual world we're forced by love. Love is the only force.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
In its pure form.
Yeah. All right. Yes, bro. Got any proof?
And I was reading the second chapter of the single canto Simrad, and Rama was telling to Nara that without Krishna's energy, the pure soul cannot identify with the body. And the way that was phrased, made a click on me. Without Krishna's energy, the pure soul cannot identify with the body. So we need that energy to identify with the body, and obviously we want it.
So Krishna facilitates that. Yeah. What else? Anything else?
Yeah, I think this point made it clear for me. He cannot. The common conditioned soul is covered by material energy, so they can't see the transcendence. So he has to accept like a subtle covering. So.
Yeah. Wait, could you repeat that? He said you can't see the Supreme Person.
The whole world is illusioned by three modes of material nature. The common conditioned soul, being covered by such energy, cannot see the personality of Godhead. So he accepts like a subtle form of material energy so that we can see him.
By him, you mean the God, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He accepts.
Is that wrong?
Oh, I see. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I was reading it more like what's that? What did you say?
He's never material.
No. Yeah. So you were saying he? Oh, I see. You mean like he comes down and like in a form? Is that what you're saying, or?
I mean,
That's all right. No, I was just wanted to understand. But yeah, the way I understood was like, yeah, it's a covering for the jiva, and yeah, Krishna accepts that it's there. This barrier, and then little jiva cannot see Krishna, cannot see Krishna's hand in everything. But yeah. All right. All right. Any other thoughts before we go to the verse? All right. Let's go to the text 8.
Yeah, as his pastime. So yeah, he takes a form.
I see.
The quote says, as his pastime, Supreme Personality Godhead accepts the subtle material energy.
I see. Okay. So it's okay. It says that also, that Krishna comes in his pastimes and does his activities and, in a sense, accepts material energy. Okay. Because yeah, one might question. Actually, that's an often common question. Like, how could God be a baby? How could God come as a child? And how could God do all these things and have romantic relationships? Not just with one person, but with many. And so it seems like it just seems like just another person who's done all these activities. But yeah, in that sense, also, yeah, I guess Krishna accepts material, what's it called, subtle material energy. That's what the verse says. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. But yeah, when the British came to India, that was their first shocker. They were like, how could you worship somebody like this as God? He steals butter, and he's does basically does adultery from their very Puritan Christian perspective. And so those were questions. But yeah, one really has to study the Srimad Bhagavatam and understand who Krishna is, who God is, and and everything is there for his enjoyment. So yeah, all right. So yeah, even in the Bhagavad Gita, right, Krishna says that not everybody can see him. Anyone remember the verse, that famous verse? I can't remember now. But anyway, he says that those are covered, they can't see him. And it's in the Bhagavatam also, it comes up. But yeah, those conditioned souls, they just can't see him. They just see him as an ordinary person doing these ordinary activities. But one has to have the vision. That's why one really has to take shelter of the spiritual master. One has to take shelter of service of spiritual master and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So to be able to really tune into who Krishna is. Yeah, Krishna is not an ordinary person. So he doesn't just reveal himself to everybody. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts, comments?
Yes, for the verse.
Oh yeah, what's the verse?
I think it's 9:11. Avajanati
Oh yeah, Avajananti Mam Buddha. Yeah, that one. Buddha Baba. No wait, what's the last line?
Buddha Maheshwara, I think.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
It says, fools drive me when I descend
Yeah.
form. They don't know my nature as the supreme lord of all that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's a famous one. Should memorize it. All right. Oh, yeah, there you go. Thanks. Fools drive me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme lord of all that be. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go to the verse. Text 8.
Which verse?
Text number 8. I believe. Yeah. कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे कारणं प्रकृतिं विदु भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां पुरुषं प्रकृते परां कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे कारणं प्रकृतिं विदु भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां पुरुषं प्रकृते परां कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे कारणं प्रकृतिं विदु भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां पुरुषं प्रकृते परां कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे कारणं प्रकृतिं विदु भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां पुरुषं प्रकृते परम् कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे कारणं प्रकृतिं विदु भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां Purusham Prakrite Param. Karya Kartritve Karanam Prakritim Vidu Bhaktritve Sukhadukanam Purusham Prakrite Param. Anyone else? Karya Kartritve Karanam Prakritim Vidu Bhaktritve Sukhadukanam Purusham Prakrite Param. All right, let's read the word to word together. Karya, the body. Karana, the senses. Kartritve, regarding the demigods. Karanam, the cause. Prakritim, material nature. Vidu, the learned understand. Bhaktritve, regarding the perception. Sukha, of happiness. Dukkana, and of distress. Purusham, the spirit soul. Prakrite, the material nature. Param, transcendental. Right, translation together. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself. All right, who'd like to read the purport?
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that when the Lord descends to the material world, he comes as person by his own energy, Atmamaya. He is not forced by any spirit energy. He comes by his own will, and this can be called his pastime or lila. But here it is clearly stated the conditioned soul is forced to take certain type of body and senses under the three modes of material nature. That body is not received according to his own choice. In other words, a conditioned soul has no free choice. He has to accept a certain type of body according to his karma. But when there are bodily reactions as felt in happiness, distress, it is to be understood that the cause is the spirit soul himself. If he so desires, the spirit soul can change his conditional life of dualities by choosing to serve Krishna. The living entity is the cause of his own suffering, but he can also be the cause of his eternal happiness. When he wants to engage in Krishna consciousness, a suitable body is offered to him by the internal potency, the spiritual energy of the Lord. And when he wants to satisfy his senses, a material body is offered. Thus, it is his free choice to accept the spiritual body or a material body. But once the body accepted, he has to enjoy or suffer the consequences. The Mayavadi philosopher's presentation is that the living entity enjoys his pastimes by accepting the body of Raha. This theory is not acceptable, however, because the word pastime implies voluntary acceptance or enjoyment. Therefore, this interpretation is most misleading. When there is enforced acceptance for suffering, it is not a pastime. The Lord's pastime and the conditioned living entity's acceptance of karmic reaction are not on the same level.
So yeah, when Krishna appears, Krishna is like the king. King can do anything really. Yeah, especially these days. And so, the king can do anything. He has freedom. He's not in a sense above the law, but he makes the laws. So Krishna is the supreme king. He's the transcendental autocrat, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur coined that term, autocrat, transcendent, Abhigya Swarat. So yeah, he's the transcendental autocrat, and he can do anything. He can appear in any shape and form, in any time and place and circumstance. And there's even a statement in the Bhagavatam in the first canto where it says that Krishna appears in every species of life. And just imagine every species, And so, what to speak of him coming in Vrindavan as a boy, as a blue boy. Yeah, he's that's him, and he comes. As the Supreme Personality God, he can do anything. But for the spirit soul has very limited freedom. There's the free will that we have is very tiny. The most amount of free will that we have is just that we turn towards Krishna. We were talking about the two birds yesterday. So yeah, the other bird, which is not the super soul, all they can really do is just make an attempt and look to Krishna. And so based on, if we look at Krishna or we're turned away from him, then this material nature, everything comes into play, the modes come into play. And so the spirit soul, and this statement comes up often in the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita is there. The spirit soul doesn't really do anything. It's almost as if the spirit soul is, it's conditioned, it's covered over. It's like it's in a prison, practically speaking, a prison of the gross body, prison of the subtle body, a prison of the modes of material nature. And so, the tiny amount of free will that the spirit soul has is just to turn towards Krishna. And when that happens, then these when one turns towards Krishna, does devotional service, then these other, these chains kind of just get released, gradually. And it makes me think of when Devaki and Vasudeva were in prison, and they were scared when Krishna appeared. That Krishna appeared and he showed his four-hand Vishnu form, and they said, they still had the feelings of parents, and they said, please, go back, please do not show your Vishnu form. If Kamsa comes and sees you like this, then he'll come and kill you. And here he is as Lord Vishnu himself. How could Kamsa kill him? But they had that affection and that sense of protection for the child. And so please, don't show this form of four-handed Vishnu. And so, and then when they were thinking, what do we do? And then Krishna just appeared. Krishna just let the chains that they were bound and just released. So it's like that. When we start practicing Krishna consciousness and turn towards Krishna, those things that bind us, especially the modes, they start. It slackens. It slackens those chains. And so, and the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that famous verse, I can always remember the number 1426. How does it start? Do you remember? I think I had it up. Let me see. Krishna says that one who worships me, one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So the key part is engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. And so unfailing also doesn't mean that one has to be, like how in the material world, if failure can mean many things. Failure mostly means you couldn't do it, you didn't do it right, you didn't do it on time or whatever. There's so many benchmarks for what is success. But in Krishna consciousness, it's really simple. In Krishna consciousness, whatever effort that one makes with full intent to serve Krishna. And Krishna is very kind and he accepts it. So when one does that regularly, one does that on a regular basis and with their heart, then all these other things that bind us slacken. And conditioned, the spirit soul gets conditioned. And it always struck me, because I always used to think about, well, there's the air conditioner. So there's a device that conditions the air, right? So there's a device, this material world, it just conditions, it creates conditions for the spirit soul to feel like these activities belong to them. This previous verse that Kapila Muni says that material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. So the spirit soul is just here, stuck. And, sometimes it's born in a country that's, we'll just take heat and cold for now. That's really cold, and then gets used to the cold, Sometimes born in a poorer country gets used to that. Born in a rich country gets used to that, Born in a nice family, it gets used to that. It just gets conditioned over and over and over and over again, And so based on their desire, based on their karma, of course, from previous lives. So these conditions are enforced. And of course, what to speak of humans, then it's forced to take birth in lower species. Then it's really conditioned. the way that happens is like based on one's if one really has negative bank balance in karma points, then they go to hell, and over there their work, the Yamadutas, Yamaraja's servants, they really, well, they get punished, and they get punished, but then the point is that they get punished and their consciousness gets really, really, really low, and so then they come back to earth and in animal form, because then the consciousness really has to be dulled down to be a tree or animal or something. So then they start the journey again from the lower species, and then they come to the human form. So that's the process. And so yeah, everywhere in the material world there's conditions, and the soul just gets conditioned over and over again. And although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he's thus affected by conditional life. So the reality is that the spirit soul, the little spirit soul that's in there, it's not really, doing anything. It's just there, but it gets conditioned, and then it starts thinking like, I'm doing all these things, and I am, making money. I am, whatever that the person starts thinking. The reality is, of course, that we are servants of Krishna, and that's the lens that we need to see the world in. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. When we start looking at the world from from a perspective that this world belongs to Krishna, and everything that is happening in this world is happening because of Krishna's will. Nothing is happening without his sanction. And the things that happen in your life, do they make sense? Most times. Honest answer. Yeah, some things sometimes they should, wait, what's your name again? I forget your name. Russia. You're saying it makes sense? Yeah, things. Yeah. So many times, a lot of things make sense, and sometimes there's like absolutely no sense. What the heck is happening? And we all go through that, and especially in those moments, they're like, what is happening? That's the moment where Krishna, we turn to Krishna, and we're like, okay, Krishna, you have some message, you have some lesson, something, something out there, trying to give it to me, and I'm just so dull-headed, I just can't get it. Please, maybe explain, give me some cliff notes, or something, something more. So when we really that's what happens sometimes, and then as Krishna's way of really pulling our hearts towards him, um, through calamities. We often see that it's like something really jolting happens, and you just turn towards Krishna, and become more God conscious. And that is the way to become God conscious. We realize that not everything is in our hands, that there are powers beyond us, and then there is God. And that's, I think we talked about that recently in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's one of the 12-step process. That's the first step. Well, the first step is acknowledging there's a problem, right? And then second step is realizing that there's a higher power, and so that's like the second step. There's a problem, and then there's somebody who's in charge here. So the spirit soul, it's conditioned, it's bound. That's our position. And the beauty of it is, though, that just by connecting with Krishna, just by doing simple acts of service, I don't know if I talked about it, or I talked about it last year. I think I already mentioned it. Anyways, there's so much research going on. I've started thinking about Nitai's research again. He has this research to figure out the left-handed molecules, right-handed molecules, and how they work, and how it can answer the question of creation. So everybody's looking for what is the reality, but the simple thing is that when we just serve Krishna, connect with Krishna, we see reality that everything is connected with Krishna, that Krishna is out there, and Krishna is looking out for us. He's our best friend, and the more we serve him, the less, especially, first thing is we have to come to the mode of goodness, right? And people sometimes start from the mode of ignorance, so the first thing is like when you're waking up in the morning, what do you have to do? Kind of move around a bit, so you have to feel, we have to, was that? You gotta dance. That's what Mimi does. We gotta dance. That's a good way to wake up. And so when we're in the lower modes, in the mode of ignorance, then you have to do something. You have to come to mode of passion. You can't just jump to mode of goodness. So first you have to come to mode of passion, do something, dance, and do any kind of activity that kind of just wakes you up. And then once you're waking up, you don't want to stay in mode of passion. because when you stay in mode of passion, you can easily you not easily you will always go to mode of ignorance. There's no doubt about it. And so after that, you have to regulate yourself. And so in the mode of goodness, then finally, and then one is the mode of goodness. And people who are not necessarily God conscious are also in the mode of goodness. You see people out there who are totally regulated. They're they don't eat meat, even like a vegan, whatever. They have so many. They don't eat gluten. Can you believe that? And they eat everything fresh. I'm sure you'll find one person at least out there that does all those mode of goodness things, but they're not necessarily Krishna conscious. And so mode of goodness is not the goal. We get there, we use it so that we can actually transcend the modes, and we use it so that then we can focus ourselves in Krishna service. And when we do that regularly, over time, every single day, every single month, every single year, and every single decade, then yeah, these modes they start slackening. Makes me think of a movie actually. Has anyone seen Harry Potter? And there was this one. No, who hasn't? Get out. Just kidding. There's this scene where it's I think in the Chamber of Secrets. Anyways, they fall into this pit, and they're stuck. They're entangled into this mesh of like roots or whatever. And I don't know who figures that out, but one of them is like, "No, you gotta stay calm. You stay calm, and you'll go through it. You go past it, and just come out safe." And I think one of them didn't stay calm, but anyways. But yeah, that's the point. You stay calm. Yeah, when the modes of material nature are just so strong and so forth, instead of panicking and so forth, you just surrender to Krishna. You just give Krishna your problems, and then and through Krishna's energy, all those roots and all those things that are binding you, and then they slacken of its own accord. There's only so many things we can really do. We can only do so much. We can try to be in the mode of goodness. We can try our best to serve Krishna with all our intent and whatever in good misgivings are in our hearts. Still, with all that, we can turn to Krishna. And the beauty of Krishna is such an amazing person, and that he looks at the one good quality that one has, and he just he fans it, and he really values it. And everybody loves that person, isn't it? When that person is able to see that one good quality in everybody, and that's a saintly person. So Krishna, it comes from Krishna. Krishna is like that. He sees that one good thing, and he might, I'm sure he's aware of the other things in our hearts too. But he's like, all right, that's we'll work on that. But he sees that one good thing, and he keeps. He's our best friend. That's what best friends are. They always look at your one good thing. They look at your good things. They ignore your other little quirks and your other little things that you do. So that's the spirit soul. But Krishna is not bound. Krishna is not bound by anything, by material energy. And that's the Mayavadi philosophy. Prabhupada often bashes it in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada talks about how the Mayavadi philosophy is that we are all God, and we wanted to perform our pastimes in this material world. And so, we come and we perform our pastimes. And Prabhupada's point is that, no, how could you do that? You can't just come as a pig. Did he say pig? Yeah, he said hog. Yeah. God coming as a hog and enjoying in mud. And like it's enforced on you. It's enforced in you. When Krishna came as a hog, when Krishna came as Varahadev, which actually, I think it's next week, actually, Varadev's appearance day. When he came as a hog, all the demigods were so enamored by this beautiful pig. This hog was flying up in the air, going to attack Hiranyaksha. And all these demigods were looking at him, and he had jewels and everything, and they were just so enamored by him, and all the demigods were praying to him. When we come as a hog, well, not... Oh, unless somebody keeps you as a pet in their house, I guess. Unless that happens, nobody really like looks at a hog like, oh, this is beautiful. Oh, maybe this is God. It doesn't really happen. And when Krishna comes as Varahadev, then everybody looks and just prays to Varahadev. But yeah, not us. When we come as little pigs, then we are treated as pigs. Actually, when Indra had a fall down, he had committed offenses to his guru. So part of his fall down was that he came to earth as a pig, and he had a pig wife, and he had little piglets, and he was just happy. He was just there as a pig, and and then Lord Brahma came and he said, "Now you've done your punishment. Now you got to come back, rule the heavenly realm." And he's like, "No, but I have my pig wife and my pig kids." And so he was just conditioned. He was just totally got conditioned as a pig. And in the end, I think Lord Brahma. I don't remember how it ended, but somehow he went back as Indra.
He's slaughtered though.
Yeah, there was some slaughter involved. I couldn't remember who was. Indra was slaughtered as the pig, or all of them. I'm not sure.
In front of him.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just wasn't sure about that. Okay. But yeah, there was some. Yeah, Lord Brahma was like, "Nope, you're going back." I'm like, all right. But yeah, that's the nature of the soul, of the spirit soul of the jiva, that they're bound, whereas Krishna is supremely independent. All right. And then yeah, Mayavadi philosophy doesn't really, they have so many arguments. It's the word jugglery is very impressive because they give analogies of the sun being shown in each little pot of water, and they say that you're God, but you're just in these different forms. But Prabhupada gives many arguments like this one, where like, no, it's not. It's not out of your own volition. We're not out of here because we wanted to be, in these little bodies, different bodies. We are here because we wanted to enjoy the material energy, and then because of that we have to go through all these different forms and bodies. Also, Prabhupada, he makes this point that but one can say that they're God, right? But we see in the Bhagavatam that how does God behave? Prabhupada makes this point. Yeah, Krishna came and he lifted the Govardhan hill. So it's like when somebody comes and claims to be God, you ask them like, can you lift this Govardhan hill? Could you lift a mountain? Could you lift anything? Could you lift 500 pounds? Ask these questions, and it's like, it makes no sense. Mayavadi philosophy doesn't really stand a chance. Impersonalism is different than Mayavad. Impersonalism just focuses on the impersonalist aspect of God, but Mayavad is furthermore offensive according to our acharyas, because in Mayavad philosophy, their understanding is that that it's all impersonal, and these forms are kind of illusory forms of Krishna and of the different avatars. And that's why our acharyas deem Mayavad as dangerous and as offensive, because they say that the form of Krishna is just is fake, basically. It's illusory. It's just temporary and fake. So yeah, anyway, those were some points on this verse. Any thoughts, questions, comments before we go ahead on Mayavad philosophy? Everyone's just stunned. Yeah. Yes.
It says at once.
Oh,
I had a similar question from previous class.
Yeah.
We didn't get to ask it. Non-devotion service is a poison and beginning nectar at the end.
Yeah.
Most of us cannot get to the poison stage to experience the nectar. When we first start, like in this bonus,
Yeah.
right? So I guess the question is two questions. First question is, what does it once means? And how to get, if you have any secrets, or how to get to the poison stage.
To the poison stage.
And other tricks.
Yeah. A lot of poison. At once. Yeah, Prabhupada does talk. There's a video of him giving lecture, and he says, just in a moment, single moment. It's out there somewhere. I've seen it many times. It's one moment. It takes only one moment to be Krishna conscious, and it's true. I mean, that's what the Acharya said. Even at once transcends the modes of material nature. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. It's funny because it says unfailing in all circumstances when it says at once. And so, I don't know, my thought is like it goes moment by moment. I think we all experience that. When we are able to be mindful in our service, when we're actually mindful, then in that moment we at once transcend the modes of material nature. Has anyone, actually that was one question I had for everybody, which connects with this, is anyone experienced when they are really tuned in serving Krishna, how does one feel normally? What are some symptoms of that when you really just tune in, whatever service you're doing? And yes,
I feel kind of energized.
you feel energized, yeah.
Like, for example, like last time I did some landscaping, pretty much like all day, but I was like, that day, and I was covered with dirt, all of the leaves and all that, but I just felt so good afterwards.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. Yes, bro.
You feel connected and supported.
Yeah. What else? Anything else anyone feels? And I was thinking that in terms of, did you have something, bro? Yeah, sure. There's one more here.
I feel, why can't I always feel like that?
Yeah, why can't I always like that? I think Tulasi had something. Did you?
I was just thinking about Sankirtan when
Yeah.
You just feel high.
Yeah.
Like everything is just bright.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You feel high, and then yes, Mary. Go ahead.
You almost don't feel human.
You almost don't what?
You almost don't feel human.
You don't feel
I
human.
don't know. It's just like you separate from
Yeah.
the materialness and
Yeah.
you just transcend that.
Yeah.
You are one with Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, bro.
One can feel, I feel sometimes, sheltered and free from anxiety.
Yeah, you feel sheltered and free from anxiety. And these are all symptoms of us feeling, thinking, feeling, willing on the level of the spirit soul. Then especially one of the main symptoms is that when one acts in a way where they're acting in the level of spirit soul, the eating, sleeping, mating, defending, those four propensities go way down. Especially when you're doing service, you're really into it. Just don't think about eating. You don't think about sleep. You forget about sleep. You forget about which partner you're gonna get, and you forget about being defensive. Especially So that's one symptom. So it really is. It does happen at once, but it has to be moment by moment. You have to keep doing it, and that's why it's not like impersonalists have this thing. Kogan pointed out often. They often talk about there was this one moment where I realized I'm one with everything, and then after let me get back to my whatever stuff that I'm doing in life. After enlightenment, there is the laundry. Gopal said, the beauty in Krishna consciousness, the laundry can also be service, and Gopal Prabhu can attest to it. He's done laundry for so many years. What was that, bro? Oh yeah, that's a book. That's pretty funny. Yeah. All right. I forget your name again. Rosia. Rosia.
Yeah, I was actually thanks. That we feel like a special happiness and heart fulfillment.
You just feel joy and happiness, and what to speak of mode of goodness, especially when you're a mode of transcendental goodness, Shuddha Sattvas, Prabhupada, as it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you just really feel the real joy and happiness. Yeah. Kabini Prabhu?
I just want to say that neither of us had any of those glimpses when we were here. And the fact that Krishna was giving us these connections, this awareness, these moments of at once for 1 second makes us continue. Because if it would be just theoretical, nobody would be here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, nobody would be here. Kiara?
I had a question on a different point.
Okay, sure. Let me just finish one thought. It's like especially when we go to a place of pilgrimage like Vrindavan or Mayapur, you can really very easily tap into that, tap into Krishna consciousness, and it's just so easy to chant japa and Vrindavan. You just keep chanting, you just on a regular day, you just do 32 rounds like without there's no problem really. Especially these places out there, and where the material, it's like this covering is very much thinner, depends on our consciousness, of course. It's much thinner, and so one can really tap into that and really feel high and energized and so forth. But the same thing can be replicated anywhere in the world. It just really depends on Krishna. We can create Vrindavan anywhere, any place we are, the sadhus like Prabhupada, they carry Vrindavan in their hearts. And so, yeah, Prabhupada brought Vrindavan to us here. All right. I guess we'll wait for breakfast coming inside, right? Yeah, okay. So you have a question here? Oh, there was another question. What was the other thing, bro? Sorry, one second. Poison. Just how to reduce the, well, it just takes time. Sorry, it just takes time actually. But we get the taste for it. We get the taste for japa, for morning program. But it's like, yeah, it is like exercise really. When you do exercise regularly, then what they call those dopamines or whatever, right? They, then you get your dopamines from exercise. And we are sick. It's philosophically, spiritually speaking, Prabhupada says that, Bhagavatam says that we are sick. And so when, especially the example of jaundice, when you're sick with jaundice, you eat sugar. That's the cure, actually. But it tastes bad when you eat sugar when you have jaundice. So yeah, it will be poison in the beginning, but as we keep, growing in Krishna consciousness, it's like that covering goes away, gradually. I mean, I'm sure there's many things in our lives that we maybe relish so much when we're not so much in Krishna consciousness, and later we're like, not necessarily that we're totally disgusted, but we're like, hey, I'm just not into it, like, yeah, I'm good, So it's just, yeah, just a matter of time. Like I like to give that example often of that. I don't know if you noticed in the side porch. I'm sure you've noticed it. Outside the side porch, next to the drink cart area, there's this huge hole. It actually keeps growing. It's funny because there, from the roof, the gutter, this water drips. How we were looking at it the other the water drips. I've seen it over the years, and just a few drops of water, little by little. When it rains, it doesn't even drip all the time, but just that drop of water, regular water, has made a hole in stone. So just like that, when you keep practicing Krishna consciousness, our stone-like heart will melt away. And it's just amazing to see. You can all go see it. It's a live example of water goodness. This little water, one drop, just one drop. It's the hell. I saw beside the other day. I'm like, the hole has gotten bigger actually, in that paver. But yeah, it just takes time. Yeah, sorry, that's all I got. Tips and tricks for.
As you were speaking, something else came to my mind. Material enjoyment is nectar in the beginning, poison in the end. We are so used to immediate satisfaction right away.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
anything of value
Takes
requires
time.
poison first, be it education, be it
Everything.
work,
Yeah.
relationship.
Yep.
For some reason, when it comes to God, we don't want to put it in.
Yeah. Anything we want, anything of value takes time. Yeah. All right, Kiara, bro.
I don't understand like why we I don't understand the importance of understanding why the soul doesn't do anything. Like we're talking about all the things the soul experiences. It seems really like dynamic and a lot of stuff is going on. I don't understand how the soul doesn't do anything, why like that's important to understand.
Yeah. I mean, a simple perspective is that to realize that we're not these bodies. The idea that there's so many things that go on in our life, and there's so many things that we associate with. But yeah, it's kind of brought up often in the Bhagavatam, and the Gita also says there that's why it's mentioned that. But it's the spirit soul is really untouched by all these many things, because you see, you'll see people in this world, and they're just so either attached to something or really averse to something or someone, So most people think, and for them, that's just the reality. And that's why this point is often brought up. Well, you're a spirit soul. You're actually, in the broader scheme of things, you're not really, you're just, in a sense, actually just an observer, really. You're not really touched by these things. It's not who you really are. That's the main point that comes to my mind. Any other thoughts, Advaita? And have anything else that comes to mind why this point is made often?
Because in reality, the spirit soul is it's called inanimated state. inanimate state, it's like doesn't have
Mhm.
as a marginal compassion focus.
Mhm.
But because we are so tiny, we're always affected by one or the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Under the influence of external energy, the soul will extend through consciousness, like a hand to a glove.
Yeah.
And then material age will act according to our desire. But in reality, the soul, the soul doesn't.
Yeah.
The only thing it does is like a passenger on a Uber or a taxi. It's just it points out desire where we want to move.
Yeah.
And everything else is carried by material energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
In the spiritual world, that desire is also there, but we are personally involved.
Mm.
There's no like the love is off.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get to experience that.
Yeah.
Not through the filters of mind and sense.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Thank you, bro. All right. Does that help? Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. We'll end the class here. Then Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Prasad.